Hello, I'm David Breeden. I'm the senior minister at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis. It's a historically humanist congregation, and this is Coffee and Wisdom when I take a humanist look at various philosophical and theological things. For the past several weeks now, we've been looking at what inspiration and charisma were in the ancient mind and where we're going with that today with brain research, neuroscience, and the updates that science can offer us. Today, I want to take a little look at what I'm going to call the inspiration industry. That is, people who are selling inspiration. Now, way back 3 weeks ago, I was talking about how ancient people saw inspiration as coming from the gods. Moses coming down from the mountain is carrying the Ten Commandments that are the direct word of God. And this is the way ancient peoples tended to see that inspirational moment coming into their minds. The Greeks came up with the idea of the nine muses, the different kinds of arts, and they thought the mother of those arts was Mnemosity, the goddess of memory. And Sigmund Freud really carried us into a different way of thinking in the late 19th and early 20th century, in which we began to think that probably those voices in our heads are coming directly out of our subconscious and reflecting something of our subjective minds. And as the century went on and now into the 21st century, we are looking at creativity in a very different way. On Tuesday, I mentioned Dr. Anna Abraham, one of the leaders in neuroscience of creativity, who says that creative thoughts are original, unusual, or novel. But she also carries that over to say also they need to be satisfying, appropriate, or suited to the content. So creativity, in other words, can be harnessed to the direction that one is trying to go in a purposeful way. It doesn't just have to be random inspirations from out there somewhere. Today, I want to take a little look at the industry that has developed around the more contemporary ideas of inspiration, creativity, the psychology of discovery and invention. And it's by that professor whose name is a little bit hard for some of us to pronounce, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, a University of Chicago professor who named the term flow. He defined flow as a highly focused mental state conducive to productivity. And the psychologist said that this flow state is all kinds of things. It happens, yes, in writing and creative endeavors like music. It also happens in running and playing basketball and biking. Anywhere that one has done a lot of work and has focused on a great deal may lead into a flow experience. And that is a highly focused mental state conducive to what he's going to call productivity. He said this flow is being completely involved in an activity for its own sake. The ego falls away, time flies, every action, movement, and thought follows inevitably from the previous one, like playing jazz, by which he means improvisational jazz. And that's the idea of flow. People who have done a lot of writing or singing or composing of music or biking or hiking know this moment at which everything seems to flow together and suddenly you're a little bit above everything and this sense of time disappears. A lot of people, that's what they're looking for in their daily practices. And that's why we practice daily those things that we particularly like. So there's a lot of research on this. Out of Our Minds, The Power of Being Creative by Sir Ken Robinson is a very good book. A very, very famous one here in the US is Writing Down the Bones, Freeing the Writer Within by Natalie Goldberg. This book is now over 30 years old, and it's still being used in creative writing classes everywhere. Natalie Goldberg is still out there on the trail talking about inspiration, and I would recommend it. It is a very good book. She has updated it over the years because our understandings of creativity, especially how the mind works, are very different now than they were 30 years ago. And she has kept the book up to date. Natalie Goldberg has this to say: don't cross out. That is editing as you write. Even if you write something you didn't mean to write, leave it. Don't worry about spelling, punctuation, grammar. Don't even care about staying within the margins and lines on the page. Lose control. Don't think. Don't get logical. Go for the jugular. If something comes up in your writing that is scary or naked, dive right into it. It's probably has lots of energy. And that's her creative writing advice. We've seen that before. The beatniks long ago in the 40s and 50s were talking about getting into the writing such that you just keep writing. And they were very much using the typewriter for doing that as well. There are lots of books out there. I do want to recommend a few. Steal Like an Artist by Austin Cleon is a brilliant book. This is a more contemporary look at how to find creativity. What Austin Cleon says is that, you know what? Don't worry about being original. You're not going to be. It's all been done. It's all been said. What you need to do is look for inspiration, look for how to steal like an artist, see those things that other artists have done, whether it be visual, writing, etc. And that is your source of creativity. Let Me Out, Unlock Your Creative Mind and Bring Your Ideas to Life is another brilliant book that I do recommend. It's by Peter Himmelman. He was a rock guy, a composer, and then he decided to go into kind of business creativity consulting. And the book is quite good, especially if you want to step out of the strictly artistic ways of finding inspiration to those more creative ways of doing all kinds of business thinking as well. Another book that you might enjoy is called Daily Rituals: How Great Minds Make Time, Find Inspiration, and Get to Work. And this book is by Mason Curry. This book is very much about the anecdotes. I mean, how did Jane Austen get into the writing frame of mind? How did Picasso get into his frame of mind in order to do his artwork? How did Charles Dickens get around to writing those massive Victorian novels? And so there's a lot of fun anecdotes in there. Mason Curry says the repetition itself becomes the important thing. It's a form of mesmerism. I mesmerize myself to reach a deeper state of mind. Now, if you look at that quote very closely, you realize that this goes all the way back to shamanistic practices. We are mesmerizing ourselves, as he calls it, but that is accessing that inner voice in order to get more creative and find inspiration. He also says it is a danger to wait around for an idea to occur to you. You have to find the idea. And that's one of the writing rituals or do is put us into a frame of mind because we do it the same time, the same way, every day, every day, every day. Chuck Close, the visual artist, says inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. And that's a real good get down to work kind of Puritan way of thinking about it. But he's not wrong in that every day you get in there and you get at it if you really want to find that creativity and inspiration. And Salvador Dali, back to those subconscious exploring surrealists of the 20th century, said, have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it. And so there you go. That's not going to happen. So I hope you've have enjoyed looking a little bit at inspiration. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the vestiges of God. And by that, I mean how human beings have seen the animal kingdom through time, because that has changed a great deal. And I hope you'll join me next Tuesday. On Friday, we have a live Zoom coffee with the minister. And if you're interested and don't have that Zoom link, be sure to email me, minister@firstunitarian.org. And I'll see you Friday or Tuesday, and have a great weekend.